It didn't even do the intro? What is going on? This is just crazy. But hi, everyone. Welcome back into another episode of the Patriots Daily Podcast here on the CLNS Media Network. We are powered by Prize Picks and Game Time, and we're laughing because we messed up our intro. We were trying to make funny faces for it. We were being stupid. But it's time to preview Patriots versus Titans coming up on Sunday. A game between the 1-6 Titans and the 2-6 New England Patriots. It's two first-year head coaches. It's two teams with question marks at quarterback right now. Obviously, we know Drake May has been limited at practice with a concussion. Jacoby Brissett finished last week's game. And on the Tennessee side, Mason Rudolph has started the last couple games for the Titans with Will Levis dealing with an injury, as well as sort of being basically benched because of his injury. I feel like they've kind of massaged that into a benching / injury thing for Levis, but he was limited yesterday at practice. I believe he was limited today as well. So let's get into the matchup, Taylor. But before we do, let's quickly talk about this injury report from the Patriots today, because 3 DNPs from yesterday, Christian Ellis, Vidarian Lowe, and Jaquelin Roy, all come back to practice in limited fashion today. Marte Mapu, Jalen Polk, full participants. Mapu with the neck, Polk with a concussion. And then Tyquan Thornton added to Thursday's injury report with an ankle injury. So 30,000-foot view quickly before we get into the matchup. Your thoughts on this injury report and what it could potentially mean for Sunday?
I mean, it's good. So Christian Ellis, Jaquelin Roy, those are two guys I've been talking about. They've been pretty instrumental, honestly, over the past couple of weeks on defense. Two guys that are being asked to step up, and they've done a pretty good job. So the fact that they didn't participate yesterday, that was, I think, a full contact practice. May have had something to do with it, but good that they're on the up and up. Vidarian Lowe coming back to practice is huge. Obviously, you want him out there because Harold Landry hasn't been a super productive season for him, but he's still the kind of Harold Landry and Arden Key, actually. Arden Key is the one who's been more productive as the pass rushers on the edge for those guys, but they're both solid players. So you'd like to have Vidarian to maintain that continuity. And then Tyquan Thornton was an interesting one. He was added with an ankle. I don't really think much of that, to be honest. He had a very limited role last week. Doesn't really move the needle. But Marte Mapu and Jalen Polk being fully healthy could be big. Marte Mapu obviously has been really a full starter since he started taking the field. And then Jalen Polk, we have no idea if he's going to play or not or what his role is going to be.
I know.
Because Gerard Mayo kind of hinted that he could potentially have a reduced role. Hopefully it's a different role. No more of him at X now that we've had Kayshon Boutte in that role, and he's been your best guy. But yeah, those are pretty much it. I think the defensive injuries are the ones that I'm really going to be keeping an eye on because Roy and Ellis have been instrumental, especially on the early down defense. And then, Jalen Polk, curious. I'm going to be interested to see what they actually do with him and where he lines up and where he plays.
That makes the receiver room that much more interesting now that Thornton's on the report and Jalen Polk is full and kind of coming back. So if he doesn't play, he's going to essentially be a healthy scratch this weekend. Something like you said that they had hinted at where they could kind of give him a mental reset now. Obviously, he kind of got that last week being out, but he was also dealing with an injury, dealing with the concussion. So with KJ Osborne, Tyquan Thornton also on the trade block right now, that can make for some interesting lineup decisions for sure. Javon Baker as well plays last week. Doesn't take any reps on offense, but obviously gets involved in the kick return game. And it sounds like they want to slowly get him involved in the offense. But let's start with the Titans offense first and foremost here today, Taylor, as we preview this matchup coming up on Sunday. And we're going to start with, hold on, I'm looking at our comments. We also have, we'll do, so we're looking in the chat. There will be a small Q&A at the end. We'll try and get to as many as possible. We're going to be kind of crunched for time here as we continue previewing this thing. But if you have any questions, throw them in. We'll try and get to as many as possible after we wrap up today's show. But first, we're going to preview Patriots versus Titans. Like I said, 2-6 Pats heading to Nashville. And we're going to start with the run game. And it's going to start for the Patriots with shutting down Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard comes over from Dallas this past offseason and has had a solid season for this Tennessee team. Yards after contact per rush for the season, he's second only to Tank Bigsby, who kicked the Patriots butt a few weeks ago, over in London. So Patriots are going to have a tough challenge again. They obviously have gotten gashed the last couple weeks in the run game. Got a little bit better last week against the Jets, but still wasn't perfect. So Taylor, how did the Patriots stop Tony Pollard and the Tennessee rushing attack?
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee, you're going to see the numbers, and a lot of his yards have come after contact. No running back actually this season has had a higher rate of his yards come after contact. But the Titans have also been opening up some holes for him. It hasn't been quite like the Patriots. We'll get to their run game a little later, where they've had a big problem actually opening up holes on a consistent basis. The Titans have done that. Then Tony Pollard has also been putting it on his back as well. Obviously, one of the best in the league when it comes to creating his own yardage. So that's going to be a really big challenge for the Patriots, who were better against the run last week. And when you look at the numbers, this was their best game in several weeks. If you look at yards, rushing yards allowed, yards per rush, and those two stats, they were the best since week 2. Average depth of tackle, that may seem like a weird, funky stat. Like, who cares? What does it mean?
Right.
Basically, it is still significant because this is essentially saying how many yards are you giving running backs before you even contact them. Now, you want that number to be under 4 yards, obviously, because you like to hold running backs to less than 4 yards to carry. So still a work in progress, but in terms of down-to-down consistency, I really like what they did last week relative to what it's been in weeks past. The biggest thing that stood out to me was the explosive runs. They only allowed 2, which was the fewest that they have given up since the Seattle game. Every other week, pretty much, they've given up at least, I believe it was 4. A lot of the time it's been 6. So that was a huge improvement. Really, they just need to work on not giving up the 4 and 5 yard gains. You know, the gains where, as a run defense, they're not going to gouge you necessarily, but a team like the Titans, where they know they can't really lean on their quarterback, they're going to run the rock. Now, the Patriots also, the missed tackles have improved. And one thing also, they've done a much better job actually swarming to the football. So that was a big thing last year where you would see like guys like Jabril Peppers. They had, a pretty decently high number of missed tackles, but it didn't matter because there were so many people around that even if they missed, there was someone else to pick it up. Now, I mentioned the 2 explosive runs. Those are going to be the plays that I want to highlight because those runs were the same concept, actually. The Jets got them on the exact same play 2 times throughout the game. And it's actually a concept I think we could see also from the Titans. Now, like the Jets, the Titans are more of an under center outside zone team. So it's pretty straightforward. But even the Jets last week did a lot of shotgun outside zone toss. They're basically the same idea, but toss is obviously aiming to actually get outside of the tackles, whereas outside zone, a lot of the time, you're really just trying to set up an outside run to cut back inside when the defense over pursues. Obviously, you're going to hit outside. We're going to see that for the Patriots run game. But first, let's look at the Patriots and the run that exactly gave them trouble. Now, this crack toss, the Jets used twice in the game. Now, it was from a unique look, right? So you got the bunch up here, single receiver, but then you've got Breece Hall on the outside. Very unconventional look where the defense, when they see this, they're not really expecting run because obviously Aaron Rodgers is in the backfield. What are you going to pull some kind of QB toss with Aaron Rodgers? Right. That ain't going to happen. What the Jets are going to do is actually have Breece Hall shift into the backfield and run the play before he gets set. So we're going to see that right here. He starts coming into the backfield. And what we're going to get is a crack toss with 2 of those crack blocks. So you're going to get 2 from the receivers, 1 on Jonathan Jones, 1 on Dietrich Wise. Then you're going to have Tyler Conklin and Tyron Smith as your pullers with, once again, Breece Hall going outside on the toss to hit outside the tackles. Now, gets the toss. Now, as you're going to see, Dietrich Wise, Jonathan Jones have been pinned. They are accounted for. Now, Breece Hall basically is just following his blockers as he gets to the outside. You're going to see Christian Ellis, unfortunately, goes underneath the block. Now, Christian's been very good. I think this is a play where the coaches are going to say, hey, man, next time you want to go over this because on a crack toss, very rarely is a back going to cut back on this. They're really trying to get to the outside. Right. So instead of as soon as he goes under, this happened earlier in the game with Marco Wilson. When you go under, you take yourself out of the play. If you go over, you at least force the running back to cut back into the pursuit where all these guys are. But once again, he goes under, so Breece Hall has room. You also have the block from Tyler Conklin on Christian Gonzalez. That's a mismatch. Breece Hall basically just does his thing, gets outside for a first down and an explosive gain. That was the second time that the Jets ran that. The first time the Patriots were in zone. Second time they were in man, which is why you saw Christian Ellis as the guy who was motioning back inside. Now, not the same look, but we're going to see the same concept from the Titans. And like we talked about with the Jets last week, where there was a certain play that the Jaguars ran, that RPO inside zone with the bubble screen that created some conflict on the backside. The Jets used that as well. They ended up fumbling the snap, so it didn't work. But it's a copycat league. If a team is studying you and sees, hey, they got gashed by this, You're going to see it again the next week so that team can see whether or not you have the proper adjustments. So the Titans going to run their own crack toss. A little different because instead of a bunch where it's 3 receivers here, you're only going to have 2. So you're going to have a couple of these crack blocks, and instead of both multiple pullers, you're only going to have the center getting to the second level. That's how you're going to take care of the linebacker, and Tony Pollard's going to be going out on the toss. Now, once again, from shotgun, just like last time, you get the pin here, you get the second level block here. This is really going to be key. They're not even throwing any more blocks, but that's just enough for Tony Pollard to use his speed, get outside the tackles. You're not really seeing his tackle breaking ability there necessarily, but we talk about, once again, outside zone. It's very straightforward with run defense. We want to make it complicated. It's not. It's literally creating extension, putting yourself in position to get off the block, getting off that block, and then making the tackle, as well as obviously making your run key. So the under center outside zone scheme is where the Patriots really need to hone in. Make sure that not only one person is tackling Tony Pollard, but you swarm to the football so that you have multiple bodies on him to reduce the number of yards after contact. But also watch out for that toss play, because once again, the Patriots couldn't defend it against the Jets. Would make a lot of sense for the Titans to use a different version of it this weekend.
Absolutely. And I'm just looking at the injury reports again from this other week to kind of tie it into. Yeah, wow. Okay. So tying it into the running back room here with the Titans. So Tony Pollard is back, or not back. Tony Pollard is playing like he has been. Tyjae Spears, my goodness, their backup running back, has been out the last couple weeks. Returned to practice yesterday with a hamstring injury, but did not practice today. And so it looks like it's going to be Tony Pollard as sort of the one-man wrecking crew there. I know they have a couple other backups that could potentially come in and play as well, but it really is going to look like it's Pollard's game for the Titans backfield. But again, like you said, they really need to continue to hone in on that, stop the run. And like you said, they it was that play last week where it was the bubble screen off of the RPO zone read right there, and it was the perfect. We basically went through it in our game preview before. Taylor called it out. It worked out for the Jets just like it did for the Jaguars. And so Titans probably do the same thing in the film room, figure out what the Patriots' weaknesses are. They just need to continue to hone in on those backs and go forward there. So we're going to continue our game preview in a second. But first, a quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks, because Prize Picks is, if my computer will load, the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. So join us and run your game all season long on Prize Picks, winning up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you get your money in as little as 15 minutes. They also offer Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals all sports season on Prize Picks. We will have a Thursday night football play tonight on my Twitter. I'm going with Garrett Wilson to have more than 63.5 receiving yards, and I'm also going with Tank Dell to have more than 4.5 receptions. Tank Dell is going to be the number 1 in Houston tonight because Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins are both out, so I think C.J. Stroud is going to triumph over him. And although the Jets can't figure out anything right now, they have figured out that Garrett Wilson is a dog. So I'm taking him to have more than 63.5 receiving yards. Join me if you want. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, Taylor, let's continue on here. Patriots versus Titans coming up on Sunday. And we talked about already stopping the run game, but now flipping it to the Patriots offense. They need to contain Jeffrey Simmons, someone who was highly mentioned by Gerard Mayo this week and someone who Jacoby Brissett called one of, I think, the top 10 or 15 players or defensive linemen in the entire game. So he's someone who they are going to have a red circle all around this weekend, Jeffrey Simmons, as well as the rest of the Titans pass rush. But specifically Jeffrey Simmons, as you'll highlight in a second, has the highest PFF pass rush grade among all interior defensive linemen since week 6, that is on a minimum of 50 pass rushes. So Taylor, take us through how the Patriots stop this Titans pass rush.
I put one too many spaces after week, and it's going to bug the shit out of me Oh my God, I'll be better
fine.
next week, everyone, I promise. But yes, Jeffrey Simmons. So he actually missed week 5. That's one of the reasons we started week 6. But the dude's been a monster this season. He's been a monster since he got in the league. He's one of the rarest athletes on the planet. He's big, he's fast, he's physical, and he is a scary MFer, just attitude-wise, like truly one of those dudes you simply don't want to mess with. And then when you even look at PFF's pass rush win rate, the only person who's been better since week 6 is Cameron Hayward, who's having a monster season in his own right, both versus run and pass. Jeffrey Simmons is a well-rounded player also. It's not just a pass rush. He's also been a great run defender, but we'll talk about that later. But again, as you can see, he's been a highly productive player, and that is significant because the Patriots have been much better in their pass protection. Now, before Ben Brown entered the lineup, that was what happened in week 6. They were the worst pass blocking unit by every metric, according to PFF, other than pass block grade. I think they were still like bottom 5. It wasn't good. It might have been bottom 3. A lot of struggles there. Obviously, it wasn't just because of David Andrews. There were so many different permutations they added onto the offensive line. But when Andrews went down, center became one of the most porous spots on the offensive line. Ben Brown's been better, but at the same time, the Patriots guards, other than Mike and Nwenu, are simply not built to win one-on-one against elite pass rushers. That's just what it is. Ben Brown gave up some pressures against Quinnen Williams last week. Michael Jordan has struggled at times when he's one-on-one against these really good pass rushers. And Jeffrey Simmons specifically is the kind of guy who will take you and put you in the quarterback's lap if you are by yourself. So you want to make sure you give him extra attention. And if you don't give him extra attention, you've got to make sure that you're getting the ball out quickly. And he's not the only person you've got to deal with. Once again, the Patriots have been much better in their pass protection. But even last week, you saw it's not perfect. And we're going to show one of those examples because with the Titans, not only do they have Jeffrey Simmons, they also have guys on the edge like Harold Landry and Arden Key. Harold Landry hasn't been great this season, at least in terms of production, but Arden Key has been their best edge rusher. And we're going to show you what kind of problems they can present. So here, the biggest issue isn't even just one-on-one. Like we know, yes, Jeffrey Simmons is very good. If he's one-on-one, like I said, he's going to walk you back into the quarterback. But the line game specifically are what I want to focus on because in some obvious passing situations, they're going to test the Patriots' communication. We're going to see that here, the way that they actually deploy this. So the Lions have one of the best offensive lines in the entire NFL. That is their bread and butter. But it's also kind of like what Gerard Mayo said, where the Lions, they're known for showcasing their offensive linemen. They have extra linemen. They'll throw to their offensive linemmen. The Patriots haven't done that. Exactly.
Legend.
Exactly. But they will put multiple guys out there, as we saw in the game-winning touchdown. They had 7 offensive linemen on the field. So that's not any crazy package here, but you're going to get a line game from the Patriots. A TE stunt. Basically what that means, Jeffrey Simmons on the inside, Arden Key on the outside. TE just means the order of who's going to attack. So T is the tackle. The tackle is going to penetrate. In the E, Arden Key, the end, is going to loop inside to create this pressure. Let's break this down. Now, Jeffrey Simmons, you see the power, instantly wins, gets under his blocker as well. Arden Key capitalizes on the gap created because this is a man blocking scheme. So these guys are singled up on their men. If they have good chemistry, maybe they'll pass it off. But with this side essentially zoned out, you're not getting any help in the middle. Arden Key capitalizes on that because Jeffrey Simmons won his rush, and the two guys meet at the quarterback. Sack, not only a sack, but also a strip. I don't think they were able to recover, though, unfortunately. The Patriots actually almost gave up a sack on a very similar concept, but Drake May, who we're hoping obviously is going to be the starter on Sunday, was able to get the ball out of his hands before they managed to get home. So this time they actually flipped it, right? So you're going to have the edge defender, Will McDonald, on the inside. On the outside, you've got Quinnen Williams as a defensive end. When you see this alignment, you know a twist is coming.
I was just going to say, look at all the space in the middle of the field. There's nobody lined up on any of the 3 interior linemen.
Exactly. Especially when you're looking here, it's like, all right, you've got a linebacker. There may be a twist both sides, but I'm really worried about your 2 best pass rushers being on the same side of the line of scrimmage. Once again, TE twist, you're going to have, technically he's a tackle, but we really know he's an edge rusher. Will McDonald penetrating on the inside, Quinnen Williams looping from the outside. Now, Michael Jordan, unfortunately, is not going to win this rep necessarily. He tries his best, but Will McDonald is able to create separation, get underneath. And then Vidarian Lowe, once again, they're a man blocking scheme. It's a tough position for him to be in because they end up kind of at different levels. He tries to chase Quinnen Williams, if Drake May doesn't let this out, he's going to get crunched,
Smoked.
right?
Yep.
Quentin Williams is burying him, but he does get it out. Unfortunately, this is the play that Kayshon Boutte dropped. So once again, the individual matchups are going to be huge. You can't let Quentin Williams just take over the game and attack your interior offensive lineman. But at the same time, it's also very important that communication is on point. And not only does the quarterback understand, hey, this is a really tough defensive line. Like even Alex Van Pelt mentioned earlier today, both of the sacks that the Patriots took last week, they happened on quick losses, but the quarterbacks had options to get the ball out. That's one area where Drake May struggle. We talked about the footwork's been inconsistent, the ball placement's been inconsistent, but almost every sack he's taken has been a play where he probably could have gotten it out sooner. Whoever's under center, you got to make sure you don't make it easy on these guys.
Definitely. And I like that you mentioned the communication aspect of that too, Taylor, because they've gotten so much better the last 3 weeks. Yes, because Ben Brown has been in there, but also because they've had almost the same offensive line. Now they had to switch it up in week or whatever week it was over in London because Vidarian wasn't able to go at left tackle. But this lineup of Lowe, Michael Jordan, Ben Brown, Mike Onwenu, and Demontre Jacobs on the right side. That's what we're looking at again this week, likely with Lowe back at practice. And Vidarian Lowe said it today, that they've gotten a lot better in that regard, and that at one point this was sort of a and I'm sort of paraphrasing here, but that offensive line has been kind of the punching bag for the Patriots. Now all of a sudden they're showing what they're worth and what they're made of. And that consistency, that communication is going to be huge, especially against a front with a ton of dudes, especially Jeffrey Simmons, Arden Key, Harold Landry, all those guys. They can wreak havoc. But again, they've made it work the last 3 weeks. So we'll see if they continue to do that on Sunday against Tennessee. We're going to wrap this thing up with the Patriots run game. But before we do, a quick word from our friends at Game Time. Head over to Game Time today, and you can get in to Nissan Stadium in Nashville for as little as $45. So if you're like Taylor and you're headed to Tennessee this weekend, but don't have tickets yet to the game, head over to the Game Time app and buy them there. They have the Game Time Picks feature. It filters out the fluff and shows you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They also have super deals. They have great deals. They have amazing deals, and that's just not me saying that that's what they are. That's literally what they're called on the app. You can also see your seat view on the app, which not a lot of the other apps do, so you can see exactly what the field is going to look like in front of you. That's all on the Game Time app, so make sure you head over there today. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Taylor?
Game time.
It is game time here on Pat's Daily. And the other time that, what are you laughing at?
Because you're like, they have great deals. I literally heard, they have great deals. They have amazing deals. They have deals no one's ever heard of. The best anyone's ever seen.
It definitely.
I was like, oh my God, I've heard these before.
Yeah, it does sound like him. A big trade deadline Tuesday coming up for him next week. That's all we're worried about next Tuesday is that trade deadline in the NFL for sure. But let's wrap up.
Your friends.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, get out and watch the trade deadline. Anyway,
they give out stickers. I paid attention to the trade deadline.
Yeah, I watched the deadline, 4 p.m. on Tuesday, and then you can go out and do some other things after you check out the trade deadline. Anyway, let's finish this thing up here. Patriots got to get that run game going, and they have to do it with Ramondre Stevenson, who came back last week. Actually, he's played the last 2 weeks. Wasn't himself in Jacksonville, I'd say. Came back. Had a better 2-touchdown game last week. Now, the yards per carry, Taylor, wasn't great, but he graded out solidly pretty much everywhere else. So take us through what they have to do against this Titans run defense with Ramondre Stevenson in order to take some pressure off that quarterback position, especially if we don't know if Drake May is going to go.
Yeah, so the big thing is that Ramondre looks like he's himself again. As you can see, he had the most missed tackles forced per rush since the season opener. Yards after contact per rush were the third most that he's had all season. I believe he also had a really good performance against the Dolphins. I think that was the only one that was close. Before that, I think it was like week 2. And conversion rate was very high. He had the 2 touchdowns. The first time he had 2 touchdowns since 2022, I believe. So been quite a while. Obviously, the Patriots offense hasn't been very good, so I'm sure that doesn't really surprise anybody. But Ramondre's at least been good. So it's like, damn, I didn't know it had been that long. So Ramondre looks like he's back to himself, was dealing with the foot injury, also had some off-the-field stuff. And Gerard Mayo gave him credit for saying, the the resilience he's shown, not only getting over the fumble problem he had, but also, again, the off-field stuff and being able to lock in and produce well. But the offensive line hasn't been great. Now, the yards per rush, the reason it wasn't very good is because Ramondre was having to deal with backfield pressure constantly. He had the second highest stuffed rush rate of the entire season, and his yards after contact rate was 123%. We thought it was bad against the Bengals, and everyone made that a storyline. And we came on here and said, it's not really just that. It's also because he was getting hit, because he was going up against cornerbacks where they were actually designing these one-on-one situations. Against the Jets, it was much more inconsistent. There were some openings, and we're going to show that, but we need them to be, once again, more consistent in that area. Create some holes for Ramondre Stevenson to use his tackle-breaking ability at the second level, where those, instead of just having a decent run, you can actually have some explosive runs. Ramondre Stevenson had 0 explosive carries against the Jets. I believe that was the only game this season that's happened that he's played in. Not going to have an easy task either. Actually, can you look up if Amani Hooker participated in practice? Because
yes, I can.
I have this set before, literally the injury report dropped right before the show, so I didn't really have a reference. But the Titans
did not participate once again on Thursday.
That's huge because, as you can see, no safety has more tackles against the run, tackles for loss or no gain against the run, and they have a bunch of dudes on this Titans defense. Jeffrey Simmons, like I mentioned, very good run defender, second among interior defensive linemen this season in terms of tackles for loss or no gain, which is even more incredible considering he missed a game. Ernest Jones, the linebacker, is top 10 among linebackers, and Harold Landry is top 10 amongst edge guys. You think of Harold Landry as more of just a pass rush specialist. Nope. He can also stop the run. That's actually where he's been most impactful. So the Patriots, the biggest thing for them is understanding how to pass things off, right? Again, it's the chemistry. And it's hard when you're rotating all the time and you got young guys in who are being asked to step up. But at the end of the day, week to week, you want to see some improvement in the run game. It's not going to be easy, but hey, if you have Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, that's going to be absolutely crucial that you run the ball. If you can't, you're putting him in a very difficult position. And even if it's Drake May, I think, as stout as this Titans defense is, both against the run and the pass, you at least want to put your quarterbacks in positions where they don't have to do everything themselves, because it's not an ideal situation, especially we know Drake May is very talented, but you don't want him having to drop back again like 35, 40 times a game. That's very rarely a recipe for success in the NFL. We're going to look at the runs that might work for New England. Now, outside zone. Everybody keeps saying for some reason the Patriots can't run outside zone. Meanwhile, it's been the only thing that they've actually run with any level of consistency. Even their duo, which has been their bread and butter for a long time, hasn't been nearly as consistently effective as their outside zone scheme, which almost always hits behind Mike Nwenu. Surprise, surprise. So on this play specifically, we're going to get Lecitus Smith as a fullback. That was a really fun way to start the game. He got a 12 personnel set with one tight end, with 1 tight end, 1 running back, and then Lecitus Smith is your, H-back type, whatever. Now, Kendrick Bourne shifts into the formation. We're actually going to have outside zone, but with a trap influence. So Lecitus Smith is going to trap on, I believe this is Quinnen Williams. That's going to allow Ben Brown to get to the second level quickly. And then all these strong side blocks are going to do a really good job executing their assignment. And you're going to have Ramondre Stevenson running to the right. Now, gets the carry. You see great blocks, strong side. You got especially Mike Nwenu's blocker. He kind of gets to block initially. Can't really get his hat outside, which is what you want to do. But, the defensive lineman tries to shed the block and does him a little favor. Nice combo here from Hunter Henry, Demontre Jacobs. Demontre Jacobs begins climbing to the second level. Actually doesn't even need to block anybody much on this play. Then Kendrick Bourne does a solid job creating contact on his man. But Kendrick Bourne's assignment does manage to get off the block just enough to make contact with Ramondre, but with his contact balance, really doesn't do much. He breaks it and then just scurries ahead for some extra yards. Now, not a huge gain. Also, someone I want to highlight on this play. Let's look at Vidarian Lowe, right? From the start of this play. Yeah. Gets to the second level against Sherwood, sticks to him. He's not getting off that block, stays on him. This is the first play of the game. Little bully ball gets in his face.
Set that tone, Vidarian.
I love me some Vidarian, though. That play made me very happy. And the Lions last week actually ran a very similar type of outside zone. This is from under center instead of the pistol like the Patriots did. But what you're going to see, and instead of a fullback, you're going to have a tight end coming in motion. He's going to create the trap play on the interior, or I guess technically this is wham, actually, because technically, so when it's wham, it's a skill position player. So, for some reason, the Titans tried to have Calvin Ridley do something like this.
Oh, nice. Smart.
Blown up. Go on my Twitter if you want to see that. It was very funny. But if it's wham, it's because it's a skill player. If it's trap, typically it's an offensive lineman. That's the way you really think about it. But so he's going to trap down, and then once again, you're going to get outside zone to the right side. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs kind of take this handoff. Now, the defensive tackle doesn't really do himself a ton of favors here. Makes it a lot easier for the tight end, but you got that block. And then Penei Sewell does a great job on the right side, creating a bit of a seal. Second level blocker does just enough to get Jahmyr Gibbs started on the run. Then solid gain for him. Now, once again, the Titans are not going to give you a whole lot of explosive gains. Like, this may be the second week in a row where the Patriots don't rip off a 10-yard run. But the biggest thing is they need to make sure they're consistent. Because if they can get, like what Gerard Mayo told us, 3 yards for some people doesn't look great. For us, if it's a physical 3-yard run, we'll take it. If it's one of those body blows where it's like, if you get like 10 3-yard runs in a game in the right situation, that's demoralizing for a defense because it at least keeps the offense on schedule. Patriots can do that. Going to take a ton of pressure off the passing game. We didn't really preview the passing game because we don't know which quarterback it's going to be. But I think we all know that Jacoby Brissett just doesn't give you quite as much as Drake May, both in terms of downfield passing ability and rushing ability. So the run game, I think, is going to be crucial if New England's going to get a win on the road.
All right, so Titans, the keys to the game for the Patriots, stopping Tony Pollard, containing Jeffrey Simmons and the pass rush, and also getting that run game going with Ramondre Stevenson. Those are the keys. If they do it, Taylor, I know you think that that's how they win the football game, but do they do it, and do they win the football game? What's your prediction for Sunday's game in Tennessee?
I'm going to slight cop out. I'm going to go with whichever quarterback it is.
Who do you think is going to play quarterback? Who do you think? All right, fine, do that.
I think it's going to be Drake.
So do I.
Because he was leading off in practice today. I think it would have to be a setback for him not to play at this point. If Drake plays, I think they win. Okay. I think if the defense does their jobs, like Calvin Ridley's the only person you really need to worry about in the passing game. The run game for the Titans is solid, but they're not very explosive. So if you can, force them to run the ball, but get the stops when you need to and give your offense the opportunities to get some good field position and maybe turn that into points, that's how they win the game. With Jacoby Brissett, unfortunately, I just don't know how they move the ball consistently. Again, I said they need to run the ball. I'm not confident they're going to necessarily because this is such a tough Titans front. And then I think Drake May is going to be the difference because he gives you that explosiveness that can get you to flip field position, get some points on the board. If you get out to an early lead, I think you're putting the Titans in a really, really tough spot. So that's going to be absolutely key. But if it's Drake May, I think they win. I'll give them like a 10-point win in that one. I'll get a little gutsy here. If it's Jacoby Brissett, I'm seeing more like, under 3-point loss. It's going to be close, but I think that Tennessee's able to pull it out just because they have so much talent.
All right. I guess I'll allow the caveat because it is kind of up in the air right now. So I'll give it to you. But I believe Drake May is going to play in this game. Feels like he is moving through that concussion protocol again. Today was a limited participant, but he was out there early. So we are assuming that he was out there for the entire time, meaning that is stage 4 of protocol. Tomorrow will be stage 5. If he clears it, he leaves for Nashville on Saturday and plays on Sunday. So that's what I think is going to happen. So if it's Drake May, I'm going 23-14 Patriots. Look, the Lions put up 52 last week in this Tennessee defense, and I know they were able to take advantage of field position battle and things of that nature. But I do think, too, the Patriots were able to do that a little bit against the Jets last week, where they played complimentary football. They had a couple nice stops. Obviously, the punt return, not the punt return touchdown, but the long punt return for Marcus Jones that they scored off of. So I'm thinking the Patriots win.
Touchdown, Marcus.
Yeah, really should have.
He should have scored out, my boys.
Yeah, but no. Look, the Patriots played pretty well last week. They've played solid on offense against or with Drake May under center rather. And I just think this Tennessee team is not that good offensively. It's a question if it's going to be Mason Rudolph or Will Levis. Either way, I think the Patriots defense can stop whoever is under center for Tennessee. So that is it for our preview. Let's go through the chat. We'll take a few questions here. We don't have a ton of time, but we will get to as many as we can really quick. And let's start with this one, Taylor. Let's talk about tanking. Do we really want them to win these games, Taylor? What do you make of the idea of losing games here and trying to make something happen for – now, again, we've talked about it. They're not going to actually tank. But what do you think of them winning versus losing and how it affects their draft position?
So you have your quarterback. You tank for a quarterback because they're so hard to get. You have to give up the farm to get them. And the Patriots are a team that has holes at several premium positions. So I don't think they're specific as long, even if they're 15th, honestly, I don't really care.
Right.
15th is still good enough to get a quality player. I think that's the point. If you get a top 5 pick, if you get the first pick, obviously that's huge because once again, you have your quarterback. Then you have the flexibility to say, hey, you want a quarterback? You want what we have? Well, I'll dangle this pick and you're going to give me the mother load. Mm-hmm. Yes, obviously that's ideal. But the biggest thing for this season is not draft capital, it's culture. You need to win as many games as possible because, one, you want your team to be inspired. Like, if they lose out from here on, that's not good, right? Because at some point, you figure guys are going to start, the effort's going to drop off. It's kind of like last season where you start to see which guys really are going to roll with you and put in, the hard work to make sure that this is a respectable team and which guys are going to look out for themselves. In a game like football, I'll be totally honest, it's so easy to call people out and be like, Trent Brown. Like, people wanted to talk shit about Trent Brown, kind of giving up. But at the same time, it's like, bro, I'm on an expiring contract. I'm not going to be here next year. I'm putting my body on the line. I know you could say life, like not a lot of people have died on football fields, but we've literally seen someone die on a football field. So it's not fair to necessarily say that's not true. Like it's significant what these guys put out every Sunday. So I think that winning at least gets you that buy-in. Maybe, you got guys who really are even not just bought in now, maybe want to stick around for the future. And then free agents, trade candidates are going to see, this first-year coach and this rookie quarterback were able to get, 5-6 wins. That's not bad. I'm a great player. I can come over there and I can make Drake May better. I can make that defense better, get some, quality sacks or whatever, and bring them some pass rush, whatever the skill set is. So wins are very, very important this season. They're not the only thing, and that's why they keep reiterating that they're building for the future, but you still do need to show signs of progress. So whether it's now, whether it's later in the season, if we're in mid-season, so it's not like September where you're saying, all right, they're losing, not the worst thing in the world. They didn't have playoff aspirations, but you need to show growth, and that obviously comes with wins because it's going to be very hard to convince teams that you got better, or free agents or whomever, that you got better if you lose 10 straight games or, whatever's left in the schedule.
No, absolutely. I mean, again, it's they shouldn't actively lose. No one should actively, want this team to lose. And even as a fan, right? Like this, do we really want them to win games? Is like, I guess the premise of the question. I would think you want them to play well. And if it doesn't translate into a win, I think that's okay, because in the end, it does help your draft position and it can add to leverage down the line and things of that nature. But you want them to play well. If they win, it's an added bonus. And I think the culture part you mentioned is huge, where, okay, we're doing the right things and it's working. Like last week, right? They improved on, several different areas, and they actually saw one go through the hoop. They actually saw a W get notched in that column where, when you're banging your head against the wall, trying different things, trying new things, and it doesn't add up and you don't get a victory, then you see the buyout and you see those guys kind of be like, well, what are we doing? We're just that bad. And then it kind of unravels and we get to where we almost were after that Jacksonville game. And so I think wins are important. They're not the most important thing. You still likely want a higher draft pick to continue rebuilding this team, but that's kind of where I sit on there. All right. Are you drafting a tackle or wide receiver at the top of the draft?
Depends who's there and what pick they have. I know everybody wants this to be like an easy kind of plug-in thing, but I haven't watched these guys, so I'm not going to sit here and say that. But at the same time, I think Vidarian Lowe, and I don't know how people are going to feel about this, I don't think he needs to be
an all-pro.
No, but he's under contract for next season. He's playing good football for you this season. He's not even just replacement level. The guy's given up a sack. Mm-hmm. Now, he's missed time, obviously, and there have been some close calls and all that, but he's been way better than anybody could have expected. That's why I'm saying, hey, if you got to take a tackle in the second round and he maybe develops behind Vidarian Lowe, maybe plays so well behind the scenes that he forces him out of a job, I think that's what you want. And one thing we undervalue is how important it is for players to have been in the system for a long time, because you grow. Vidarian's 26 years old. He hasn't even reached a ceiling yet. So for me, wide receiver is the one position where it's they have a glaring hole because they have a bunch of Z's, bunch of slots. No one who I feel confident right now that can live at X, even unless Javon is lights out and plays the way that I was hoping he would when I was writing up, the profile after he was drafted. You need some more help, and the team has shown that. They tried to we're going to pay Brandon Ayuk more than anybody else. So I think wide receiver is still the biggest one. I know people are going to say, but if you don't have a tackle, he's going to get hit. But Vidarian Lowe is not really getting his quarterback hit very often. And also, what people fail to mention is the fact that wide receivers who can win quickly allow you to get the ball out of your hands quickly so that you're not waiting on these long developing patterns and the 3 receiver set. It's nope, my guy can win on a go route or he can win on a slant. That's basically a quick throw.
Yeah. Look, I think Vidarian Lowe has proved to be a solid replacement level player in the NFL where he's filling the gap right now. He's far better than anybody ever thought he was going to be after last year. And I know he's flipped from right tackle to left tackle and he's looked a lot more comfortable there. But in the end, I still think you need a long-term answer there. So with him playing okay football and him being under contract, like you said, I think it gives you a little bit more flexibility to not rush for left tackle at the top of the draft, find the wide receiver, tackle in the second round. That way you can it's someone who you can bring in. You don't feel the necessarily need to start him right away. He can maybe develop and sit for a little while, and then he can kind of take over eventually for a guy like Vidarian Lowe. So I think ultimately it's wide receiver, but I also don't think, and I'm not even going to pull up the question. I know it's in there, but there's the Travis Hunter conversation. We think he's going to end up playing cornerback. I don't know about him at wide receiver. I know you're not a fan of him wide receiver in the league. So if it's like a Ted McMillan, then we'll go there and then kind of take the true X wide receiver versus the more gadgety player, if you will, in Travis Hunter, and go from there. Do you see anything in here, Taylor, that you want to answer? I know we don't have much time left. I'll just go quickly. The Thornton injury, real or a sign that a trade's coming? I don't think they're going to fudge the injury report for a trade. I think that a trade could be coming and could not be, but I don't think the ankle has anything to do with that. I think they just have to report it, and they don't like to mess around with that kind of stuff.
No, I'm on the exact same page. I don't think you'd put a player on the injury report if he was going to get traded, because that's a bad look. And teams are going to be like, well, how hurt is he? And it just opens up questions, and, you might scare him off. I don't know if that's enough to scare somebody off, that you're limited in a practice. But, I don't think that's an indication of anything trade.
Yeah. All right, let's finish. Or unless you want. I was just going to say, let's finish off with this. Where are the Patriots going to be in 3 seasons? What's your estimate?
Super Bowl.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Honestly, I don't think it's even that crazy to say 3 years. We're talking about Drake May's last season. Bro, by then, I think you should have a much, much better roster. It's so tough because, the coaching is it's still so unproven.
It's questionable.
That's the biggest thing. It's like you can have talent, but that doesn't mean you're going anywhere. So I think they'll be a legitimate playoff contender, because I think Drake May,
that's a good
3 years from now, is going to be one of the top 12, 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. We've already seen, mentally, he's well beyond what most people expected. Not me necessarily, but well beyond what most people expected. And then I think by then, if his accuracy is still a problem, I guess it is what it is. But with his work ethic, I would be stunned if even next season his glaring issues right now are still as glaring next year. So, I think they're legit playoff contenders in 3 seasons.
I think that's the way to go. I know we want Super Bowl. You want Super Bowl. We want to go to the Super Bowl. That's the ultimate goal. But ultimately, if you get in the dance, you have a chance, right? And that's kind of where, the Cincinnati Bengals started there, where they were a wild card team. They got all the way there. It happened really fast for them because they had the quarterback. Now, you got to build up things around, right? You need, a stout offensive line. You need weapons, and you need this coaching staff to really hit, and you need a more consistent, I would say, offensive plan overall around Drake May. But, if you figure that out, it seems like, it's only been a quarter and a half or a couple games or whatever it's been, a game and a half, whatever it's been for Drake May, but he has looked solid so far. It looks like you may have hit on the one here. So continue to develop him, get yourself in the dance, and who knows, maybe you wind up playing in a Super Bowl in 3 years. That's going to do it for us here on Pat's Daily, a Titans preview edition of the show. We will be back throughout the weekend and throughout the weekend into next week as the Patriots continue on this season, 2-6, headed to Nashville. So make sure you keep it here on Patriots Press Pass. Rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Like this video. It helps us out a lot. And read all of our written work on CLNSmedia.com. Taylor will be in Nashville for the game, so make sure you follow along with him at TKyles39 for all of your updates. I'll be at home, but I will be giving updates when possible for the game and coverage and things like that. So tune in at Mike Kadlick on Twitter as well. Until next time on Pat's Daily, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Happy Halloween. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we will see you next time. Peace out, everyone.